CBSE Board, Class 11, History, Chapter 2, Part 2, Audio by Renee Matthew. The Eastern Roman Empire disintegrated very slow, that too after the 5th century. The Arab Empire took over the eastern part of Constantine. The Arab Empire was found by Prophet Muhammad, who was the pioneer of the faith of Islam in the 7th century. After that, there was a lot of interaction between the Greek and Islamic traditions in the region. Constant trade relations were there, and a lot of other interactions were also there. And you should remember that people were waiting for a chance to pounce on each other and also to take control over empire. They understood the importance of wealth and power, and by this time they were greatly skilled in the art of trade. Till then, trading was something which was very new. It was a novelty and people had to be taught on how to trade. But by this time, trading was a skill, and especially the Greeks, Romans, Islamic people, everybody had got the real skill of trade, and there were a lot of interactions. So this particular area which I'm talking about had so much of prosperity from trade, and it also attracted the attention of the pastoral peoples, especially to the north. Okay, Eastern Empire fell down, and then the northern part was looked upon by the pastoral people, which included the Turkic tribes also, the Turks, who often attacked the cities of the region and established control. Turks were really very powerful. So you must have heard of the Ottoman Empire. Yes, so they were waiting to pounce, and before that there was trade interactions and there were trade contracts between the Greek and the Islamic group. Okay, so we'll see what happened after that. The last of these people to attack the area, who really attempted to take control, were the Mongols. Mongols under Genghis Khan and his successors. They moved into West Asia, Europe, Central Asia and China in the 13th century. So last group to actually attack this particular place. That is the Eastern Roman Empire. He was a great ruler who was well known for his conquering skills and strategies. So all these attempts we can see from different empires and leaders to make and maintain empires. So making is not very easy, but apart from that, maintaining is also very, very difficult. It was actually done to control the resources of the trading networks, because people understood that not only resources were there in their own territory, but when you expand, you get hold of so many things under the earth and also on the land, in the sea. Everything comes under your control, and it is very easy to expand the power and deepen your control over a particular place, expanding your empire. That was the great interest of all the leaders. So by this time, man had become very greedy. Greedy part of the man was coming out, and more than the need, it was the want that was driving men. So this existed in the region as a whole, and it also derived benefit from the links of the region. So slowly they started having eye on the area such as India, China, all these places. Till then it was only the Persian part, the Mediterranean part and all that. From there they started moving. So all the empires evolved administrative systems. Till then the administrative system was just like the ruler, the god, then a few people. But now the administrative systems actually evolved. It was coming into its fullest form, where you have the ruler, the ministers, the treasury. Then it was divided into different parts. So there were a lot of division which happened, division of labor also which took place. And this gave stability to trade. So everything was for trade's purpose, not for anything else. Expansion and trading. It also led to the evolution of military organization. So when you have an administrative system, the military also should grow. And along with that, the techniques and strategies, learning part, everything will improve. And that also gave stability to trade. So when you have something in your hand which is very precious, you will have to guard it also, right? So defense mechanism, everything was also evolving, progressing at a very rapid pace. The achievements of one empire were often taken up by its successor. So it's not that people stayed in a particular place conquering it for a very long time. Like for example, the greatest emperor which was seen by the world even till today is Alexander the Great. He conquered most parts of the world. He's known to have conquered the world actually. Only a few parts weren't under his control. He reached as far as India and all the other places. But you can see that no empire stayed under the control of a particular empire for a very long time. It was always succeeded by somebody else. The successor was always there. And the area came to be marked by Persian, Greek, Latin, Arabic, and many other languages evolved. We saw Sumerian, Assyrian, Akkadian, all these kind of languages were there, but now it is like you have the Persian language, Greek, Latin, Arabic. So languages were also evolving along with literature, along with books, with writers, and also censorship. Everything was going hand in hand. We are only looking at one aspect of the evolution right now in this chapter. But you should understand that evolution was taking place in all the branches of study, right? Not only history. You take any branch, sociology, literature, everything is there. And you should see that none of the empires were stable. Like one emperor will come and also establish his control over the place. He will not stay for long. And none of the hold of the emperor was there. It reigned for a longer time. None of the emperors could establish his control for a longer time. And no empire was really stable. And this was partly because of the disputes and control, the conflict over resources in various regions. And you should remember that now we are facing a depletion in the resources. But then it was not like that. The resources were there, and it was the beginning of times when humans started discovering the underground resources, more than the ones that is found in the forest or the other parts on the land. But underground resources were actually discovered. It was also due to the crisis that developed in relation between empires and pastoral peoples to the north. So now we think pastoral peoples are not very strong, but in those days they knew all the techniques. Because they were herdsmen, they were moving from one place to another, very skilled in different techniques, not only taking care of their livestock, sheep, goat, and everything. But they were skilled in archery, so many things. So it was not very easy to defeat them and then take control over a place. So constant conflict was there between the empires and the pastoral people. And these people, they wanted resources from a particular place to feed their livestock and their men, especially to the north. So that is because it is from whom empires derived support, both for their trade. So it was like a kind of correlation which was there, because pastoral people cannot be also easily avoided by the empires. They cannot just say no to the pastoral people, because they depended on them for trade. Even vice versa, the other way also round. They were interdependent on trade, on each other for trade. And it also provided them with labor for production of manufactures and for their armies. So if they say no to the pastoral people, who will come and work producing the manufacturers, helping them with the labor force, and also taking part in their army to be a part of the army? Definitely the emperor and the ministers cannot go and fight, right? So they need labor, they needed force, they needed manpower for all these kind of things. So trade was something for which the emperors actually, they just gave away their life for that. So they could do anything. So there was a kind of conflict and relation also between the emperors, the empires, and the pastoral people. And the role of the pastoral people was inevitable. It is worth noting that not all empires were city-centric. We saw so many places which were city-centric, that is, which were cities. For example, Uruk, Mari, Ur, all these places were cities in the Mesopotamian region. You should remember here that many were not cities, many were just developing, many were just villages, or some were even below villages, countryside and all that. The Mongol Empire of Genghis Khan and his successors is a good example of how empire could be maintained by pastoral people for a long time and with success. So something very peculiar about Genghis Khan is he was a person who encouraged pastoral people He encouraged greenery. He encouraged countryside life and all that. So he taught the people on how to maintain a particular empire by pastoralism, and that too for a very long time, which showed that this particular ruler was really stable. And this is the ancient Roman Empire, the Mongol Empire you can see here, and how he expanded it. And religions also were there that appealed to the people of different ethnic origins, and we saw the different languages that were spoken under it: Persian, Arabic, and all these languages, Assyrian. They were very important in making of large empires. Religions also, the conflict was there. Even now, without religion, without any culture or tradition, a particular empire cannot be built. And that is also the root cause of fight. That is the root cause of conflict. But without that, can they flourish? Can they thrive? No. People need it for something. And this was true in the case of Christianity. I told you that Christianity came into being under Constantine when he got converted. And this originated in Palestine in the early 1st century CE. Okay, so Christianity on one side, Islam on the other side in the 17th century CE. So two religions came about. The first two religions, Christianity in Palestine and Islam in the 17th century. So two sides of a coin. Okay, and the Mongol Empire, very important point in the turning point of history. Now, can you see this timeline? It's very important. The emergence of all the important empires in the world is shown in a nutshell. This particular map is not given, the route is not given in your textbook, but it can be found in many sites of Google. So please research on it. And you can see 5 points over here. The timeline that is shown after this particular chapter, it is coming up. Okay, all the timeline. Whatever is coming up in this particular chapter, that is, as you begin itself, you have a huge table which is given there, which takes almost 2 to 3 pages, right? Can you see that in your textbook? So, the timeline focuses on kingdoms and empires. It's not just one kingdom and empire. All the important kingdoms and empires of the world. I told you about the introduction. I told you I'm just going to introduce the whole chapter. Now, some of these, such as the Roman Empire, were very large, which spread across 3 continents. Roman Empire spread across 3 continents. Okay, that was the stability of Roman Empire. This was also the time when some of the major religious and cultural traditions developed. Even now we are maintaining that. The Romans and the Greeks taught a lot of things to the world, and everything just disintegrated when the Britishers and the UK people, everybody came up and they colonized. And then people started retaliating, and then the world just changed. But you should understand that there was a lot of learning which was happening, scribing, copying, everything was happening. And it was a time when major religions and cultural traditions also developed. So 3 points are over. Now the 4th point. It was a time when the institutions of intellectual activity also developed. It emerged. So Mesopotamians also started, like for example, we have a king who gave a lot of importance to library. So libraries and everything was set up during his time. So intellectual activity also emerged at this time. It is not just emerging, but it was continued. It just went on for a longer time. And people took so much of effort to flourish it, to bring about. You can see the Renaissance, Reformation, everything which came about later after the Britishers ruled. Now, books were also written during this time. Ideas traveled across continents. It's not that writing was not taking place. With the available languages, with the available script and all that, people were able to write, and when they wrote, ideas actually expanded, everything evolved, and it traveled across the continents. Everything just went from one place to another. Now, some things that are now part of our everyday lives were used for the first time during this period. The idea of library is like something, it was new to the king of Mesopotamia. It developed after that. Now when you hear of books, now when you hear of trade, it is something very ordinary for us, right? But these ideas were very new to the people. And what can you understand? All these people were naive, very innocent. They did not know from where to where the trade took place. Nobody questioned the authority. So books, writing of books, flourishing of books, all these things were new for people. Alright? Now, like taking a look at all some of the pictures over here, the expansion of Mongol Empire is important. Little bit on Genghis Khan. More on Genghis Khan will come in this chapter. And when you take this particular empire, the western and eastern part of the Roman Empire, if you can get one full map which shows both the divisions, you'll be able to understand how the particular empire actually expanded. Okay? And also regarding the Roman Republican, and there will be a question where they can ask why the Iranian culture was not encouraged. It is a very important part in the text because this particular culture is very rich. It is ingrained with so much of tradition and beliefs. So why it was not propagated? And the major part is because of the Hellenistic culture which dominated, and especially the rule of Alexander the Great. And though the particular empire disintegrated after his death, Hellenistic culture was very important. And I told you that literature, everything flourished under this particular period. And the two parts, North Africa and East Mediterranean place, why it was the main hub of trade. It was the main hub because of many reasons. You can divide it into political reasons, social reasons, trade reasons. All these reasons can be described. It can come under your miscellaneous answers and questions. Then the regions that were under the military campaign of Alexander the Great and how he expanded everything. The ideas and culture which expanded under the Greeks. Little bit of reading will have to be done on that also to answer the miscellaneous part. Julius Caesar and his problems, why he was not able to proceed further, the instability in his government, that can also be questioned. How Constantine took over, what happened to the Roman Empire, what happened to Julius Caesar, because so many books, Shakespeare's book is on Julius Caesar and his golden period is very important in the history of Roman Empire. And what was the typical nature of the government under Roman Empire, because they are telling that to make a government they did this. And what was the loophole of that? Okay, how it disintegrated, how they depend on tribes. All these questions can be taken and it can be referred to back in this particular slide. And these particular groups also, the map is also very important with regard to this. And especially the conflict which took place between the tribes and the evolution of the Christian church, the tribes, the way they fought with each other, and what led to the disintegration of the eastern part of the Roman Empire. Very important question. Okay, eastern part. First the western part disintegrated and then the eastern part disintegrated.